Okay, so listen, and I don't want to get conspiratorial. I don't want to get conspiratorial, but after you come out, and I thought, like, very reasonably criticized them, right? A little bit afterwards, all of a sudden, the Justice Department looks into Eric Adams. Now, listen, I don't want to get conspiratorial here. But,
I do.
but we're gonna get conspiratorial. They look into Eric Adams, and then there's this thing about Turkish Airlines, right? Which I think that they were targeting you because you're bald and maybe you're going to get.
And I wear earrings.
Exactly.
It's discriminatory.
So this is what bothered me the most. It was the dollar amount.
Right.
If you are being corrupted, it better be more than $100,000. Please, God. Now, listen, I know there's level of corruption in government all over the place, but you are the mayor of New York City. Have some fucking respect for yourself.
$100,000
It's got to be 20 million or some shit. What is this? So can you, do you think there's any connection to those two things?
You're darn right I do. You know, the timing of it, the leaking, the public embarrassment and humiliation. They were leaking information part of the case. They were just leaking it out. You know, grand jury testimonies are supposed to be private and secret.
And then all of a sudden they start
ended up in the same paper over and over again. The New York Times over and over again, over and over. So and a lot of people never read the indictment.
Of course not. But anyway, keep going.
Yeah, they never read the indictment. The whole premise of their indictment. I was the borough president at the time.
Yeah.
The Turkish embassy was going to open. The president was coming. Yeah. And they were going through the bureaucracy, the madness of it.
If you've ever built a thing or renovated in this fucking city.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
And I ran on the platform that government must be more fluid and it can't be bureaucratic.
Yeah.
I called the fire commissioner and say, can you at least go do an inspection? Can somebody go do an inspection so that they can see if they can pass their inspection? And I said, if you can't do it, let me know and I'll manage their expectation. All of this is in the indictment. Let me know and I'll manage their expectation. I didn't tell them to go past them. I didn't tell them, go past the rules, ignore it. I said, no, just go do a darn inspection. The guy's asking for an inspection. Yeah. So they said, well, you know what? The federal government said, well, they gave you upgrades throughout the years, and we're going to attach that to when you call them and say you were bribed.
Upgrades on a
plane, and say that you were bribed. They use all of these numbers
for upgrades.
Right.
So you buying a regular coach class ticket, but the fact that you get bumped up means you in their pocket. 100%.
Exactly.
Okay. Why did you get bumped up? Because I need to know that secret.
Who hasn't flown? Who hasn't flown and said, tell me someone who hasn't flown and said, hey, I see you got an empty seat in business. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
you know, but to take down a sitting mayor of the largest city in America. Yeah. And then when you looked at the text messages that were leaked a few weeks ago of them talking about it, and hey, you know, the U.S. attorney, he may have a political agenda here. Right. They found their text messages and their communications.
So it exposed their
yes.
And that gets leaked by whom?
No, the judge ordered it to be released. Yeah, right.
Oh my God!
The judge ordered it to be released. But you know, if you really want to understand,
and they've dropped this case, right? Like, nobody will prosecute it.
The U.S. attorney said it was a weak case. The new incoming U.S. attorney said it was a weak case. They put in to have it dismissed. The judge said, basically, I don't want to dismiss it on my own opinion. Let me get an independent person to look over and make the determination what I need to do. Yeah. That independent person came back 3 weeks ago and said, you need to dismiss this case. And so we're now waiting for the judge to look at what his independent person said. We believe he should agree with the independent person, what he said. Listen, I did nothing wrong. How do you know what I mean? I lived a public life for over 40 years. Yeah. You know, and I know that, listen, everyone in New York, you're scrutinized and watched. You know, I know how I lived my life. I did nothing wrong. This was traumatizing to my family. You know, but you're in public life, you have to fight hard. Now, the real test for me was 15 months ago when the indictment came down. I could have easily said, you know what, let me just...
I resign.
Right. People would say, oh, you need to resign. I was like, I'm not going anywhere. I did nothing wrong.
People were leaving you, right?
Right.
People were leaving your side.
Right. And
now what are they going to?
Right. You know, that's how true true folks are.
Because who else would hire somebody that left at the first sign of trouble?
Listen, look, God, you know, I don't know your spiritual belief, but my belief is clear. God is good, man.
Yeah.
You know that?
All the
And
time.
God, and all the time, God is good. Look at you, man.
That
Sounding like a Baptist preacher. You know, so, you know, but we have delivered in the midst of that.
Yes.
You know, because...
But it is a shot at your like political career.
Oh, and it
and
hurts.
is it frustrating to not, or do you know who you think it came from? Like, is Biden aware of this, or is it the people that are like underneath Biden? Is it completely separate?
That's a great question. That's a great question. You know, there are a lot of people, you know, and I don't want to sound conspiracy theory, but there's a permanent government. There are people that see presidents and mayors come and go. Their attitudes will wait you out. You know what book is a great book, man? Everybody should read the book, Kash Patel's Government Gangsters.
Okay.
You should him on the pod.
Yeah, you should read that book, man.
Okay.
Cash breaks this down.
What is he? And is this what
He's now the FBI director?
Of course. We love Cash.
Yeah.
But is this like what people refer to? And I think this word has been used too much, but like the deep state or whatever it is.
It's not used too much. It's real, brother.
Oh, really?
It's, brother. Think about it.
Who's part of it? Like, what are there current like senators and that kind of stuff, or is it people that we don't even know but they're always existing?
You know, I have never seen anyone do such a good job of defining that deep state. You should have him on.
I would. Tell him to come on.
You should have him on.
We would love it.
The way he's
probably listening right now, right?
The way, because he was in. It's like me talking about what happens in NYPD after 22 years.
Yeah.
Cash was in the DOD. He was in the FBI. He prosecuted terrorists. So he comes with this wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And the way he breaks it down,
yeah,
it's just unbelievable what this deep state is about and why it's so important for Americans that we cannot have a weaponizing of our prosecutorial powers. Now imagine the Southern District, right? Southern District of New York. That's one of the most powerful U.S. Attorney's office. In their mind, they say we're sovereign. You know what that means?
What do you mean they said they're sovereign?
That they don't have to answer to anyone.
Oh.
They don't have to answer to the president. They don't have to answer to the U.S. Attorney in Washington, the Attorney General in Washington. They believe they're a sovereign entity. You're not elected. You know what I'm saying? Imagine an entity believing they don't have to answer to anyone but
you
their
have to
entity.
answer to the people, and ultimately the people that we put in power.
I'm curious. What do you say to people saying that Trump played a role in the DOJ dropping the case? Because it's like, it kind of looked like you went
the timing
to
does
Mar-a-Lago,
seem,
and then all of a sudden
he had your back at that Catholic dinner.
Yeah.
He was like,
and I'm glad
it's
you said
wrong
that.
what they did, and I thought that was like a really interesting thing to even say. He said it kind of flippantly, which I thought was more effective, because he could have went and made a big deal of it. He was like, it's wrong what they're doing. And I've always wondered if he felt, and people are going to say we're apologizing for Trump or whatever, but I've always wondered if he felt like, oh, they're doing the same thing to him.
Come on, brother.
You tell me.
Come on. Listen, people say think this is what what those who have Trump derangement syndrome are saying. Because there's some folks. I'm not the type of cat that I respect the office. The presidency is in office, is representative of our country. Presidents come and go, like mayors come and go. I'm a big believer. I'm a patriot. I believe in the American flag. My uncle died at 19 defending this country. I wore a bulletproof vest for the city. My brother did as well. So I believe in the symbol of office. So I don't have to like who's in office. I respected Biden to the fullest extent. I respect the office. And so when President Trump was on the campaign trail, before he was elected. He was saying, look what they're doing to this man in New York. He said, this is wrong what they're doing to this man in New York. He never asked me for anything. I believe he personally saw what they did to it's one thing to do something to the individual, but when you start doing something to your family members, and I think there was something he saw, because out of everything he had on his campaign trail, he didn't have to come out on his campaign trail and say, this is wrong what they're doing to Eric. He did it at rallies. He did it the day before the election, when he's at Madison Square Garden, a few days before the election, on that Sunday. He said, look what they're doing to this man in New York. So there was never, they say, well, there was a quid pro quo. You are now trying to be hard on immigration. I said, show me what I said
That refutes. Yeah.
after he was elected that I wasn't saying before he was elected. The same things I was saying before he was elected. You commit a crime, you need to get out of our country.
Yeah. That's
the same thing that I've been saying. And let me just drop this on you that a lot of people don't realize, you know. ICE is a law enforcement organization.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to corroborate with any law enforcement organization to keep our city safe. Now, people may not like ICE. That's your opinion.
Yeah.
But it's a law enforcement organization.
Exactly.
Let's not criminalize a law enforcement organization. And there's some people coming into the country to commit crime.
But you have been vocal, like when you were in the police force, which